Good morning. This is Jean Eaton with Information Managers. Thank you for joining us for the Practice Management Nugget podcast. Today, our guest is Connie Hampton, who is our bio recruiter, and she is not the fairy job mother. Good morning, Connie. How are you?
Good morning, Jean. I'm doing much better now that we got the tech settled. Thank you. I'm delighted to be here. I am a recruiter who
I can't hear you, Connie. Let me do a little
Okay.
equipment check here. Now I can hear you.
Okay, is this working?
I can see your slides and I can hear you.
Okay. All right, so I'm Connie Hampton. I help biotech, bioscience, life science companies find the people they need for their job, but I also help bioscience professionals find the job they want, because 75% of jobs are never posted. They're filled by personal networking. So, okay.
That's a big percentage.
Yes. So what else can we, how would you like to proceed from here?
Okay, so I would like to be able to remind people that are joining us on our website that you have the learning resources guides and links to other information that Connie has provided for us for our interview today. So take a look at the learning resources guide and download this information. We don't want to lose you, so you can come back to this exact same link and download those resources later so that we don't lose you here on the Google Hangout. We're going to have a conversation with Connie. She's going to give us some great information about networking, our polishing up our networks and our information so you can find that next job, that next position, the next contract. So perhaps you're profiling yourself as part of your business so clients can find you. And Connie, I would love to ask you, how did you get to this point? What's your story? How did you get into doing this type of business?
I, hang on a second, let me come face to face with you and turn off the screen share. So here we go. I was a mother at home for 18 years. There was a divorce. I had to get a job. And what happened was that I found a spot with a recruiter who was a generalist. And I apprenticed with her, and then Amazon.com came to town and hired all the sourcers. We can talk a little bit more about that. So they were going to pay me twice as much as she was. So I went home, started doing that. And then a friend of mine who works entirely in high tech started sending me her biopharmaceutical searches. And I love it. I have just loved it since 1998. I love talking with biologists and all these smart people who work there. So it was fun. It was fun and interesting. And I decided that I didn't want to be a generalist and really can't speak to programmers. So I've been doing this ever since.
And that's wonderful. Mm-hmm. And you have a lots of different experience with people working in lots of different locations.
Yes.
So what would be your number one tip if somebody were to come to you and they weren't able to listen to all of our interview today? What would be the number one tip to help somebody get to that next step?
Most people, when they decide they need a different job, go immediately to their resume to update it. That's kind of the last step first. A resume is a piece of advertising designed to get you an interview at that particular company. And because no company hires unless they have a problem they can't solve with the people they're already paying, you need to know what the problem is, how they talk about it, and what the keywords are. Because applying for a position with a resume that's generic, well, There are no generic jobs. Sometimes people call me for a job, any job, and it's like, no, there are no any jobs. You have to be the one to manage your own career.
Excellent. Okay, so if your number one tip is that the resume is one of the last steps, I'm looking forward to having you walk us through your PowerPoints and
Mhm.
tell us what is the first step. Where should we get started,
Okay.
Connie?
Okay. Well, you do want to get started with all about you. Um, let's see.
Okay,
Do we have, let me get my PowerPoint up here. There we go. There. All right. So now you can see that. Um, ah, sorry. Obviously, tech is not my best way to go. Um, Luckily, I do know more about biosciences.
want me to share the slides?
I've got it. It's just a matter of pulling it back up. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Okay. Um, but the first thing is, yes, you do need to know all about you. You do need to have that be part of what you're doing. There we go. There we go. Okay. Um, so, not that one, this one. There we go.
Okay, I can see your
Okay.
slides.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. So, where I do biosciences, um, I do both paid and free webinars for job seekers. But let me ask your people some questions first. Well, I've already answered this one. Don't, a resume is an ad. The second one, what do your viewers think? What do you think? Most jobs are filled by online job postings. Is that true or false?
Online job postings. I'd say it's more true than not.
Actually, false. Job boards and online ads only fill 20% of jobs. Okay. The 75% are filled by personal networking. People get hired before it ever goes to HR, and 5% are filled by recruiters. So networking with recruiters is a real waste of your time. Recently, I heard your chances of being hired by through an online job posting are close to 2%. So let's see how we can make those numbers better. The job seeker's task is to be findable, to be known, to be remembered, to be liked, and to be trusted. So step number one is, um, okay, what I'm going to talk about is 3 things that don't work, what to do instead, 9 steps to your next job, which sounds like a lot, but it's really 4 main steps. Um, Remembered, liked, and trusted is very important. You don't want to bumblebutt through your career. You need to choose your direction. That's why there are no any jobs. I like to say that you're going to eat an elephant. You have to pick where to start. So, the 3 things that don't work um, are writing a complete description of everything you've ever done in your entire working life in 2 pages, otherwise known as a resume. Another thing that doesn't work, mailing this generic resume to everybody you can think of or whose email address you have and hand delivering it to those you can't email and giving it to somebody who works in a company you want to work in to take to HR. Doesn't work. So you need to know what you can and want to do, who has that job, and you need to be selective because it's a big elephant. So you don't want to spend all of your time looking at position descriptions, job postings, and applying everywhere. You want to network with the people in the companies and departments where you want to work. So the first step is all about you. Know what you want to be paid to do and make a list of your keywords. Okay, the internet runs on keywords, humans run on keywords, but in actual point of fact, computers are really quick at matching keywords, but they don't know synonyms at all. So if you do write a resume and send it into an online job posting, it's going to go to a computer. It's called an applicant tracking system. If your keywords match, then it'll show up on somebody's desk, actual live human. If you don't match the keywords, into the black hole it goes, never to be seen again. You may get an email from the computer saying, thanks so much, got it, but that doesn't really mean anything.
Okay, so Connie, I've been following your course. I've signed up your course. The keywords are really an important part about doing a job search. Can you give us some examples of what the keywords would be?
Okay, let's say you want a job in regulatory affairs. You need to know that that doesn't sit in the legal department, that interfacing with the FDA is very important, and that you need to know if it's therapeutics regulatory affairs or IVD, in vitro device regulatory affairs. So those are two of the, just a couple of them. Let's say you want to be hired to be in the business development department. Are you a negotiator? Do you know what a term sheet is? Do you have a deal sheet? Also important keywords. What example would you like me to use?
Okay, so if we were working in medical clinics, somebody who hasn't done an online job before, how we could take a look at job postings that are currently out there and find those nouns.
Yes.
Are we looking for?
Yes. We're looking for nouns and verbs.
Okay.
I was going to do this at the end. A good way to find out what your keywords are is to use your phone or a deck of 3x5 cards or something. And as you go through your day currently working, or as you mentally walk through your day, write down everything that you did or do. Are there machines you run? Is there software you use? Are there processes you can handle? Do you manage people? What things have you done in your average week? Okay. And write them down. These are probably keywords. Put them on a spreadsheet and grade them. Which ones do you love doing? Which ones do you hate doing? Which ones do you hope never to do again? Right? What things do you want to learn in your next job? All of these things can become keywords, and you want to get your top 10 and put them on your LinkedIn profile in your skills and expertise section. Okay.
I like your approach about being able to quantify or provide some categories for those keywords. So those keywords that are things that you love to do or want to do more of, those are things that you're going to want more in your profile. And the things that you really don't enjoy, you might not want them in your profile at all.
Absolutely. Because why advertise for a job you don't want? And
excellent point.
We are talking advertising. So the first step is to be visible online so that interested people, hiring managers and recruiters, can find you based on those keywords. You need a LinkedIn profile. It needs to be as complete as possible. You need a picture so that when somebody decides to meet you at a coffee shop who's never met you face to face before, they can recognize you. They're not going up to every single man or woman, whoever, that comes in and saying, "Are you so-and-so?" I can't tell you how many times I've done that. So be visible, be completely filled out. Discover what your complex of skills is called, the title you want next, by looking at those job boards. I recommend Indeed.com because it is a job board scraper. It just pulls in all the different job postings from all over the place. You don't necessarily want to apply to those that look like they fit you, but you do want to grab the title and the industry, the niche, the companies, um, and the keywords out of them at this point. The next step, are we done? Are we done with the first step? This is the all about you step. Notice you haven't written a resume yet. Okay. Um, the next step is make a list of which companies and industries have your job. Now, before that, you might want to write a criteria list. The criteria list will be what you want in a company. You've already decided what you want in a job. So what do you want in a company? Location is a big one. Industry and niche is a big one. If you know, this process works for everything. In bioscience, you need to say, okay, I want a regulatory affairs job in a medical device company in the San Diego area because I live in San Diego. Or I want a clinical trials role in a biopharmaceutical company working on oncology in the San Francisco Bay Area. So these are criteria for the companies. The next step, and you may also want a small company or a large company, a startup or a company with products on the market already. You know, what exactly do you need in your next company? The next job is to get online and do your homework. What companies are these that meet your criteria? If you're in Kansas City, there's not going to be a lot of biopharmaceutical companies working on oncology. There are what my ex-husband used to call the oil patch. Companies tend to congregate with each other, usually around in the biopharmaceutical areas, in what are called biospace.com has a map of where the bioscience companies are. And the Biotech Bay is the Bay Area. So get your list of companies together. The next step is make a list of who you know or who you want to know who works at each of those companies that you're interested in. I recommend LinkedIn or a spreadsheet because with LinkedIn, you want both your first degree connections and your second degree connections. If you make a list of everybody you know, a whole bunch of them are not going to be your career network people. They're going to be family and friends and hobbies and what all. What you need to know is who works at the companies that you are most interested in. Okay. Then you need to connect with them. You need to network, build up your career network, follow up appropriately. You're doing this before you even know if they have a job for you. The first person you network with in a company shouldn't be in the department you want to work for, and it certainly shouldn't be the hiring manager. What you want to do with this first networking meeting is find out whether they like their company, whether it meets the criteria that you can't find online. You know, they're hiring and the FDA likes them, for instance. Or they're not hiring, they're laying off, and the FDA just sent them a letter saying, no, no, no.
So that's really interesting, Connie. You're actually interviewing people around the people that you want to meet. You're not going out and making a cold call to the person that's actually doing the hiring.
Right. I recommend if you want to go be in R&D or regulatory or one of those, that you talk with someone in accounting first, or sales, or accounting people, first of all, know how well the company's doing. Salespeople will talk to anybody, right? What you want to do is find out, should this company be on your top 10 list or not?
I love this approach. It's really you taking charge of where you want to go next. You're
Mhm.
pre-qualifying companies before you send them a letter of interest to let them know that you're available to work with them.
Right, right. And you're you're doing it from a position of power, frankly. Okay. So first you network with somebody to find out if the company should stay on your top 10 list. Then you want that person to introduce you to somebody in the department you want to work in. Now, because no company hires unless they have a problem they can't solve with the people they already have, and you need to find out what problem they have because you've solved a lot of problems in your career. You have a lot of dragon slaying stories. You've written your PAR statements, problem, action, result statements, and um, you want to find out if they have a problem you want to solve. Because if they don't, you can add them to your network, but you don't want to apply. Again, why apply for a job you don't want, right? So you get introduced to somebody in your preferred department. And again, it's networking, not interviewing, not informational interviewing. You're networking. Networking is where you give at least 4 times before you ask for anything. And what you give are things that aren't going to cost you much, if anything, price of a cup of coffee, possibly. Um, and the other person values what you're giving and is giving you things that don't cost them much. At no point is there Oliver Twist. At no point do you say, please, sir, may I have a job? Okay. Uh, you want to give attention, connections, information, links, introductions. There's all kinds of things you can give, but you need to find out what it is they want. So in the second meeting, you want to listen very carefully to the lingo that they use to talk about what they do. You want to ask really good geeky questions that prove by the use of their lingo and your questions that you are a member of the tribe, that you know what it is they do. And then you want to find out what the problem is, what problems they're working on, and tell what's commonly called a dragon slaying story or a PAR statement. Ah, yeah, when I was working at such and such a place, we had a similar problem, because all problems are unique, even if they're not. And what you want to do is say, we had a similar problem and they tried this and that, and those things didn't work. And then I suggested this other thing and it did. Have you tried that? Would that work for you? You don't want to solve the problem they're working on. You want to give them a couple of hints and demonstrate that you have the capacity to solve it. At the end of this second networking meeting, you want to shake their hand, get their LinkedIn information or their business card, and say, you must be having so much fun slaying this dragon or working on this problem or whatever. You're showing interest, even if the person has been whining and complaining about it. Okay. Then you go away. You sit in the lobby if you met them at the company, or you sit in your car and you hand write a thank you note. Thanks so much for your time. I really enjoyed discussing your dragon. Let me know if you have any questions I can help you with. And you give it to the receptionist or put it in the mail before you get home. Because nobody does this. It's, remember that your task is to be visible online, to be known by the people in the companies you want to work for, to be remembered, and boy, that'll help you be remembered.
That's a powerful opportunity to be able to handwrite a note and go back within a half an hour and hand it to the receptionist. What
Mm-hmm.
immediacy, and you've offered something very valuable. Let me know if I can help you without being pushy.
Right,
That's
right.
excellent.
A week later, you want to do the same, or a couple of days later, when you think they've received the handwritten note, you want to do it again by email. And then a week or so later, you want to invite them to LinkedIn if they're not already a LinkedIn connection, first degree. A little while later, you want to send them saw this and thought of you kind of a link. And that should be about their company, their boss, the problem, the industry. If you notice that they had pictures of sailing boats all over their office and you happen to chat a little bit about how they loved sailing, then about sailing, about their hobbies. Um, what you want to do is be remembered and liked. Okay. The more professional you can be trusted, because what's happening is that when the hiring manager finally figures out that the problem is not going to get solved by the people he's already got, they're missing their milestones, things aren't working, the first thing he says is, dang, we have to hire somebody. Who do we know? And the more people in the department that know you, the more likely your name is going to come up. Oh, I was just talking to so-and-so. We were talking about this very problem not a week ago, right? At that point, the boss is going to say, oh, do we have their resume? And one of your friends is going to call you back and say, hey, send us a resume. Okay. Well, now, so you've done the networking, you're known, you're liked, you're beginning to be trusted, and they want a resume. Okay. So what you do now is you write a resume that is based entirely on the language that they used to discuss their problem. It's not going to go to the black hole, to the applicant tracking system. It's not going to be viewed by an HR clerk. It's going to go direct to the hiring manager. So your resume now becomes your name, your contact information, 3 to 5 bullet points of the things that you know they need to have done to solve this problem, that you know you can do, that you like to do, and then reverse chronological proof that you can do those things. Education at the bottom.
So we're working on step 7, writing a resume about how you can slay their dragon.
Yes. Hold on a second. Sorry. Okay. There we go. And you need to use that language that the person you were talking to, networking with, who was talking about his problem, you need to use that language. So one of the things you've done as you were sitting there in the lobby writing up the thank you note, is you were also writing down the phrases and language and keywords he used to talk about his problem, right? Okay, so you'll write the resume, they'll be impressed, they'll bring you in for an interview. Whoops, sorry. And again, work from a position of power, okay? The first thing you say when you sit down in front of the hiring manager is, so-and-so, one of the friends, one of the people in the department, told me a little bit about this job, but I'd really like to hear from you how you view it. What is it that you need to have done? Then I can tell you whether or not I can do it, right? And what you're doing now is you're getting straight from the horse's mouth what he thinks needs to happen. Okay. And then it'll be the usual kind of an interview. The last question is usually, okay, so what else can I tell you? He'll say. And you say, okay, let's say I take this job and I do such a fabulous job that you've never seen anybody do it better. It's a year later and it's time for performance review. You give me a fabulous review. What have I done to earn that? Now, what this is going to tell you is what he really ideally wants to have done. It gives you the opportunity to see whether it's one job or 7, and whether you want to do it. Okay? Because Interviewing goes both ways. You're interviewing them. Do you want this job? They're interviewing you. Can you do this job? Can we trust you to get this job done?
That's
Now,
very powerful, Connie, where you're actually asking these leading questions of the person who's interviewing you. What a great opportunity to be able to profile yourself using their words and finding out if it's the right fit for you.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Um, if it is, they may offer you the job before you leave, or they may be interviewing other people as well. But if they do, accept the position, show them how great you are, and then rinse and repeat. You need to keep networking and keep following up, because jobs in this country are lasting an average of 4 years. Okay. In the biotech industry, 2 to 5. Careers are lasting at about 50 years these days. Used to be less than that, but we're having to work longer. Um, and in the biotech industry, companies don't necessarily last 5 years. And that's true, or departments. And that's true even in large pharma. So, so got to keep up your networking. It's really important. So here's the path on how job search works. And let's see, what else do I have here? Okay, and here's how to get in touch with me. I offer free webinars once a week on each of the 4 steps. I offer, I know there's more than that, but we divide it into 4. I offer paid classes, 4 sessions in a month on each of the steps, and personal coaching, also personal support. If you need help with your LinkedIn profile, or you need help with writing your dragon slaying stories to put in your LinkedIn profile, I'm available for those things as well. You can find all of that at www.networkpolishkit.com.
Connie, you have provided us a wealth of information. I love the way that you have phrased this so that we can take our take the power in our own hands so that we can move forward with our career and to be able to plan that information and find go searching for the job that you want, not just taking the first job that's being offered. So we've been talking with Connie Hampton, and Connie has been very generous in providing us some additional resources and actually a link to her new book. So Connie's link is at the bottom right on your screen. You can follow the learning resources guide and the gifts that Connie is providing. Her email online course is really very good. It will help you work your way through these tips at a time and place and a pace that is comfortable for you. So, Connie, I would like to be able to thank you for all of the time that you put into this. You have provided some really interesting ways to be able to share this information that is a different context, a different point of view. So, that is excellent, and I appreciate your work that you've been able to share with us today. Now, Connie has So, Connie, we're going to follow up with you to be able to share that information. It's currently available on our website for all of our guests. And Connie's had some technology problems and she's dropped off of the audio, but she's still online following us. So if you have some information that you would like to be able to share and to be able to contact Connie, you're welcome to do that. She's been very generous in sharing the information with us. And you have the opportunity to be able to follow up with us in Practice Management Nuggets and being able to stay connected. I'd love to continue this conversation with you, and we will be able to follow up with that information with Connie, and we will be able to share the information with Connie. All of the links are available on the website, And Connie would like me to share with you that she was had some technology problems, wasn't able to stay with us for the last couple of slides here. But the information will be available on the replay. You'll be able to get that information from us or to directly with Connie. Do take the opportunity to follow up with her email and her online course. I think you'll find it is extremely valuable. Do connect with Connie and I on LinkedIn and on Facebook. The links are available right there for you, so you can follow up, and we will be able to provide some continuing conversation. And if you've got any additional questions that you'd like to ask Connie that we weren't able to do today, you can do that by LinkedIn and by Facebook and by following us directly by email. This is Jean Eaton with Practice Management Nuggets. I'm delighted to be your practice management mentor and to be able to share some fantastic resources from Connie and the rest of the team here. Thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you next week. And we'll have additional guests coming up in the next couple of weeks about dress code at work, about Community Wellness Day with Dr. Randy Ross, and more information available to you on our website. This is Jean Eaton, the Practice Management Mentor. Thank you for joining us. Stay tuned.